I always think of this whenever I went to buy a house for the first time with my wife. And you go and shout out to my guy, Derek Cheney over at Mid-Missouri Bank. He hooked me up with a home loan. He told me how much money I could actually get to buy a house. I'm like, hold up, did you? My wife wasn't even working at this time. Like, did you hear me say how much I made and you're saying I can have how much? I was like, I'm about to be on MTV Cribs if I get that much money here. So I thought about it for a second, and then I'm like, that amount of debt would absolutely choke and crush my family. If we bought a house that put us that much in debt, we would never be able to pay that back. Not without, killing ourselves to do so. And I think finances are a powerful thing because financial debt, the strain that you see from that, and the strain that you've ever felt of having credit card debt or whatever it may be, like the stress of that, that's that debt. But our sin debt is way worse than that. That our sin debt is far worse than we ever thought that would be. That we have this debt against us. And here's what I'm sure that there's someone in here tonight, and you've been walking around in emptiness and brokenness, and you're trying to figure things out, but you're like, I feel this heaviness, this sense of there is this weight on my life, this sense of there is this just burden on my soul, on my spiritual being that I can't even describe. I would ask you, have you ever trusted in Jesus to remove the legal demands of your sin? Did you know that God is holy, that he cannot know your sin, that he cannot be a part of it? And so the legal demands of your sin are separation from God. Your sin separates you from God. But Jesus came. What does it say right here? That he canceled the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This he set aside, nailing it to the cross. And so my question to you today is, if you're in here tonight and you've never accepted Jesus, well, no wonder you're walking around with this burden and this shame that you feel, because you never trusted in him to remove that and to nail it to the cross. And here's what I know happens as well. For those of you who say, I have a relationship with Jesus, here's what Satan wants for you. He doesn't want you to know that your sin has been nailed to the cross. He didn't want Bryn to know that her sin had been nailed to the cross. He wanted her to stay in shame and isolation and hiding from it. That's what he wants for your life. That he doesn't want you to live, that your sin and your debt has been forgiven. And I struggle sometimes as a believer to truly stop and believe that Jesus actually nailed my sin to the cross. Even this week as I prepared to do this, as I prepared for this message, Saturday night we were hanging out at our house and I was out back with my daughter and I left her on the trampoline by herself. Not a great parenting move. I'll be the first to admit that. I didn't think it was that bad, and as I thought through it, it probably wasn't good. I was outside, so give me a break. I was picking up some sticks that had fallen, and I'm stacking them up in the backyard, and my wife comes out. And she's not yelling at me, but she's mom talking to me, all right? You guys know what I mean? She's mom talking to me. I'm like, hold up. And what happened in that moment is I'm out. My neighbors were outside, and I was afraid that they could hear what was happening. And I mouthed something to her that was so inappropriate, and immediately I'm like, why did I just say that to her? Like, I'm supposed to be a pastor. I'm supposed to be someone that helps people spiritually, and I just said that to my wife. And that night and the next day, I just kept thinking like, Jesus, like, can you really cancel that? Can you really cancel that? And in that moment of weakness, that mistake I made, I'm like, God, I almost felt like, God, why would you even want to cancel that? Why would you even want to take that away? I felt like such a failure, a phony, a fraud, a fake. And it was very hard for me to sit there and believe, but Jesus, like, you died for that. You were nailed to the cross for that sin, that you came to cancel that sin. And it's a hard thing to believe sometimes. And you might be sitting here, and whether you've ever accepted Christ or not, you might be thinking, Logan, if you only knew, listen, I've logged too many hours watching pornography. Like, there's nothing that can be done with me. Jesus can cancel that. Jesus has canceled that. I've had sex with 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys. I've been in a homosexual relationship before. God, Jesus can't cancel that. He can. I've struggled with lying. Maybe you're someone in your past, you just lied over and over again about silly things and dumb things, but next thing you knew, you were lying about every single thing that happened, making up achievements, making up how much money you made, making up stories that weren't true. And Jesus says, I can cancel that. You're someone who went through moments of rage. Logan, I fought people. You don't understand, I physically hurt people. Jesus says, I can cancel that. Now, you don't understand, I slandered somebody, and I gossiped about them, and I said the worst thing possible about them, and I hurt them so deeply with my words. How can I ever overcome that? Jesus came to cancel that. But I struggle. It's hard for me not to drink. But that one time at a party, I took that pill. I did this. Jesus said, I can cancel that. I came to nail that to the cross. I came to forgive you of that. I think sometimes we get in this season where we think that, Jesus didn't come to just be a killjoy and make us feel bad about what we've done. We should repent and we should turn from our sin. But he doesn't want us to live in it and to stay in it and to be stuck in it and to keep beating ourselves up over and over and over again. You can't be forgiven for that. What Jesus wants is he wants your freedom. And I think we miss that piece of the gospel sometimes, especially in the Midwest. Is that Jesus wants your freedom from sin. That is his heart. That is his mission, that he canceled your sin debt tomorrow, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Your sin has been canceled. It's been paid for. It's done. It's finished. It's over. And that every time when we fail and we make mistakes, what we need to do is not run from God, but run to God. We don't need to run from God, but we need to run to him and allow him to forgive us of what we've done, that he can cancel that. The only way you can go from death, from spiritual death and deadness in your trespasses to life is through Jesus. He's the only one who can cancel your debt.